Colorado, the land of colors, where mountains touch the sky and canyons carve through rock. This is the story of 4 different worlds. The Rocky Mountains that soar to the west, the boundless plains to the east, the desert highlands of the south, and the Alpine valleys of the north. A single state that encompasses the essence of the American West. We'll discover forests that shine gold in autumn, cities born from the gold rush, and villages that live off skiing and trails. But Colorado is above all altitude. Infinite spaces where the air is rarefied and pure. Imposing mountains that turn pink in the evening. Exclusive resorts and isolated refuges. From scenic trails to natural reserves, every corner tells a story of miners, adventurers, and unconquerable peaks. Welcome to Colorado. Welcome to the Centennial State. Rocky Mountain National Park. Colorado preserves here its oldest part, the one sculpted by ice and time. Alpine lakes reflect jagged peaks, while deep valleys recount millennia of glacial erosion. The trails climb among twisted pines and tundra expanses, leading beyond 11,500 feet, or 3,500 meters, where the air becomes thin and fresh. Elk and marmots cross the high-altitude meadows, indifferent to the wind that runs over the crests of Trail Ridge Road, one of the highest roads in America. When summer arrives, the snow retreats and leaves space for discreet blooms, almost timid. Then autumn transforms the aspen forests into golden waves that ripple in the wind. Everything here speaks of silence and breath, of a nature that frost, wind, and light have shaped without haste. Walking through these landscapes means returning to a primordial time, to a time that resists, still intact. Maroon bells. At dawn, 2 twin peaks are reflected in a motionless lake, creating the most photographed image in North America. Visitors arrive in the early hours of the day, when the light transforms the water into a kaleidoscope that blends sky and mountain. During autumn, the aspen forests ignite with gold, in stark contrast with the sedimentary rocks that compose the peaks. Wildlife moves freely among the alpine meadows, while hikers follow trails that penetrate into the surrounding nature for several miles. When winter arrives, the snow covers everything and completely redesigns the landscape. The maroon bells are not only beautiful to look at, but tell the story of the geological forces that have shaped the Rocky Mountains. They are true forces that continue to work silent in this corner of Colorado. San Juan Mountains. In the southwestern corner of Colorado extends one of the wildest mountain ranges in the state. The San Juans were born from ancient volcanic eruptions and still today show a harsh landscape made of contrast. Deep valleys alternate with serrated ridges and isolated plateaus, forming a geological labyrinth where traces of the mining era survive. Telluride and Silverton, with their colored wooden houses, have become starting points for those who want to explore these elevations. Among Via Ferratas, passes and canyons, nature is not a decorative backdrop, but a living presence made of strength and transformation. Landslides have redesigned the slopes over the centuries, while eruptions have generated rocks with unusual shapes, and the remains of abandoned mines testify to the lives of those who worked here, among these hard and beautiful peaks. Torrey's Peak. Among the peaks of Colorado that exceed 14,000 feet, called 14ers, Torrey's Peak is one of the most accessible summits, but this does not make it less imposing. The ascent begins by crossing high-altitude meadows and boulder fields that seem to crumble the morning light. Those who have experience can continue toward the twin peak, Gray's Peak, following a narrow ridge that separates two steep slopes. Beyond 14,100 feet, or 4,300 meters, the air becomes light and the silence more dense, almost tangible. The panoramas open onto infinite expanses of valleys and ridges that chase each other to the horizon. Torrey's is not only an alpine conquest, it is a place where the gaze widens, where time slows down, and remains suspended between rock, wind, and sky. Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve. In the heart of Colorado rises a desert that nobody expects. A sea of sand rises in dunes that reach 750 feet, or 230 meters in height, the highest in North America. Around, the Sangre de Cristo Mountains create a sharp frame that separates rock, forests, and golden waves. In spring, seasonal streams draw ephemeral courses at the base of the dunes, where water flows rapidly over compact sand before disappearing. Summer brings intense heat during the day and clear skies at night, perfect for observing the stars without interference. Here, nature is in continuous transformation, guided by the wind that shapes the forms of the dunes without rest, redesigning the landscape every day. Mount Blue Sky. Beyond 14,000 feet or 4,000 meters, among the highest peaks of the Rocky Mountains, Mount Blue Sky dominates the horizon west of Denver. To reach it, you travel the Mount Blue Sky Scenic Byway, which is the highest paved road in North America. The hairpin turns climb decisively, crossing conifer forests, alpine pastures, and rocky slopes. From the summit, the gaze embraces the Great Eastern Plains and the long chain of the Rockies, and it is a panorama that shows the very essence of the mountain in its purest form. Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park. For millions of years, a river has carved one of the deepest and narrowest gorges in North America. The Black Canyon owes its name to the dark walls that often remain in shadow, deep up to 2,600 feet or 800 meters. The rocks seem cut with precision, sharp, almost vertical. Below instead, the Gunnison River flows impetuous, distant, and almost inaccessible. Few trails descend into the heart of the canyon. In fact, most visitors look out from above and find themselves facing vertiginous views that take your breath away. Bridal Veil Falls. Water plunges for 620 feet or 189 meters, forming a waterfall that takes its name from the thin veil it creates during the fall. The stream is born from the glaciers above the valley and carries with it sediments that change the color of the pools below, from turquoise to emerald green. In spring, the flow reaches 740 gallons, or 2,800 liters per second, while in autumn it reduces to a thread of water that reveals the granite rock, smoothed over millennia. The mist generated by the fall creates humid microclimates, where mosses and ferns grow that are not found elsewhere in the region. Mohawk Lake and Continental Falls. From Breckenridge departs a trail that ascends an ancient glacial valley among pines, streams, and grassy slopes. After several miles, the roar of water signals the Continental Falls that descend on multiple levels along the rocks, fed by the snows of Mount Pacific. In summer, they flow abundant and clear, while in autumn they are framed by golden aspens. Continuing, the trail climbs decisively, offering increasingly wider views on the peaks of the 10-mile range. The last stretch leads beyond 10,500 feet, or 3,200 meters in altitude, where Mohawk Lake opens in a glacial basin, clear and silent, surrounded by jagged rocks and flowering meadows. Here, far from any road, remain only the wind, the water, and the discreet presence of nature. Rifle Falls State Park. This is one of those places where the simplicity of the landscape becomes visual poetry. Among hidden caves and green canyons, 3 twin waterfalls throw themselves from a limestone wall, forming a perennial jet of water that echoes among the trees. The park is small but easily accessible and is an interweaving of short trails, caves to explore, and areas where time seems to slow down. In spring and summer, the sound of water becomes almost a natural soundtrack, accompanied by birds, squirrels, and butterflies. Colorado National Monument. At the gates of Grand Junction opens a plateau incised by deep canyons and sandstone walls. Along the Rimrock Drive, panoramic curves reveal isolated monoliths, stone towers, and natural arches sculpted by time. Here the gaze is lost toward the west, where the plateau extends as far as the eye can see, and the snow-capped peaks of the mountain range stand out in the distance. Vegetation adapts to the arid climate, with junipers, cacti, and shrubs that resist where little else survives. This is the most authentic American West landscape, the one where geology becomes the protagonist and tells the story of the Earth. Garden of the Gods. An amphitheater of red stone emerges suddenly from the plain. The rock formations rise in pinnacles, arches, and towers, shaped over millions of years by erosion. The contrast with the clear sky is sharp, almost hypnotic, and the silence is interrupted only by the wind. The trails wind among the walls and are traveled by hikers, cyclists, and climbers who come to measure themselves with these rocks. The park is free and open to all, yet it preserves an ancient sacredness, the same that native peoples recognized when they considered this a spiritual place. Roxborough State Park. Sandstone monoliths rise obliquely from the ground, creating a scenic landscape wrapped in silence. The rocks, sculpted by millions of years of erosion, emerge from grassy meadows and oak forests, offering stark contrast between shapes and colors. The trails are easy and immersed in quiet. They allow you to observe deer, coyotes, and raptors that inhabit this protected area. Despite the proximity to Denver, the park transmits a sensation of isolation and intimacy, and every corner reveals different perspectives. Red Rocks Amphitheater. At the gates of Denver opens a unique natural landscape, carved among colossi of red sandstone, inclined like the wings of a theater. For decades, this place has hosted concerts and shows, exploiting perfect acoustics created by geology itself. The wooden and concrete bleachers insert themselves between two large rocky walls, creating a space where nature and architecture merge. Walking among the surrounding trails, the rock formations reveal lines and stratifications that tell millions of years of history. Here, music is not only listened to, but lived in harmony with the mountain. Pagosa Springs. Hidden in the San Juan National Forest, this small town lives to the rhythm of its hot springs. Hot water emerges from deep geological fractures and flows in natural pools along the San Juan River. Vapors rise among pines and rocks, creating a landscape that relaxes, even just looking at it. In the surroundings, the trails climb toward wooded plateaus and small alpine lakes. In winter, the snow covers roofs and trails, but the thermal waters continue to steam under the frozen sky. Steamboat Springs. Located along the Yampa River, this thermal resort has transformed into one of the most recognized ski destinations in Colorado, while preserving a strong rural soul. The center combines historic saloons, active ranches, and modern structures, maintaining a connection with Western tradition. In summer, the meadows open to local rodeos, farmers markets, and music festivals. In winter, instead, the snow transforms the surrounding mountains into a paradise for skiers and snowboarders. But even those who don't ski find their space, resting in the thermal baths that line the river. Glenwood Springs. Surrounded by mountains and canyons, this small town is known for its hot springs that emerge hot from the underground. The natural pools, active for centuries, have been used by native populations and pioneers for rest and healing. Today, they coexist with a lively center made of historic streets, small restaurants, and cafes. Not far, the Colorado River crosses spectacular gorges, attracting rafting and fishing enthusiasts. The Glenwood Canyon, with its vertical limestone walls that rise for hundreds of feet or meters, is one of the most scenic sections of the entire river course. Climbing up through the canyon, the trail leads to Hanging Lake, fed by delicate waterfalls that descend over moss and rock. Every element contributes to creating a landscape that regenerates body and mind. Mesa Verde National Park. On the heights overlooking a harsh and rocky landscape, the ancient cliff dwellings of the ancestral Puebloans are preserved. Houses built under enormous rock recesses with stone and wood walls testify to a civilization that inhabited these lands for over 7 centuries. The most celebrated is Cliff Palace, and it appears as a small labyrinth carved in the wall with towers, plazas, and common rooms. The trails lead to various archaeological sites where the silence amplifies the presence of those who lived here centuries ago. The entire park is an archive of daily life, agriculture, and spirituality, and preserves the memory of its ancient inhabitants. Bishop Castle. This is one of the most singular structures in the state. Jim Bishop began building this castle in 1969 as a personal project, and since then he has never stopped. Stone after stone, tower after tower, he has given life to a unique architectural vision inspired by European medieval castles. The towers soar among the trees, with suspended bridges, metallic spires, and decorative details, all forged and assembled by hand. There are no official plans, nor construction companies, only the determination of a man who has dedicated his life to this work, still unfinished and in continuous evolution. Dinosaur National Monument. Here lie over 1,500 fossil bones, made exposed on a rock wall, and witnesses of an ancient river that 149 million years ago transported dinosaur carcasses. The sandstone layers have preserved remains of Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, and Diplodocus, creating one of the richest paleontological deposits in North America. Paleontologists have identified at least 10 different species in this site, where the bones emerge from the rock like natural sculptures. The park, beyond its fossils, protects canyons carved by the Green River and the Yampa, where some of the oldest rocks on the continent's surface, 2.5 billion years old. Telluride. In an isolated valley of the Rocky Mountains hides a mining town transformed into a luxury ski destination. Victorian wooden houses in color line up along the main street, while the surrounding mountains exceed 13,000 feet, or 4,000 meters in altitude. The town was born during the gold rush of the 19th century and still today preserves the atmosphere of the American Far West. During the Christmas holidays, the streets light up with sparkling lights, and the snow transforms the village into a mountain hamlet that seems to come out of a postcard. Walking through its quiet streets, one perceives a slow and collected rhythm where history and mountain coexist in harmony. Denver. This city rises exactly 1 mile, or 1,600 meters above sea level, where the Rocky Mountains meet the plains. Denver was born thanks to gold, discovered in 1858, but today shines for its outdoor culture and the craft beer scene, with over 100 local breweries. The historic Union Station represents the city center, transformed from a simple railway station to a vibrant center of restaurants, shops, and social life, combining the function of transportation with contemporary culture. The sun shines 300 days a year, creating ideal conditions to explore the numerous urban parks and the bike paths that wind along the South Platte River. With its mix of Victorian architecture and modern skyscrapers, Denver tells the story of a metropolis in continuous evolution, suspended between past and future. Aspen. Also born as a mining town, today it is one of the most famous mountain destinations in America. Surrounded by imposing peaks, it lives following the rhythm of the seasons. In winter, the slopes attract skiers from all over the world, while in summer the trails climb toward Alpine lakes and Aspen forests. The center is elegant but compact, with brick streets, luxury boutiques, shops, and restaurants that serve local products. Despite its fame, Aspen preserves a mountain soul, and on autumn days when the leaves turn gold, the landscape transforms into a silent mosaic. Boulder. Embraced by the Flatirons rock formations, it is a university town that lives in close contact with nature. Trails start right from the residential streets, and here, bikes are usually used more than cars. The center is gathered around Pearl Street, among bookstores, venues with live music, and cafes, where students, outdoor enthusiasts, and street artists meet. The University of Colorado animates the days, and the air smells of pines and rock, warmed by the sun. Here, everything is on a human scale, but open toward the infinity of the surrounding landscapes. Colorado Springs. At the edges of the Rocky Mountains, it was born as a frontier town, and today lives suspended between nature and modernity. The city alternates residential neighborhoods with large military bases. But you just need to move away a little to find yourself immersed in trails, canyons, and rock formations sculpted by the wind. In the historic center, old brick buildings house restaurants and shops that recall the past of the far west. Among the symbols of its identity stands out the Broadmoor, historic resort that for over a century has welcomed travelers at the foot of the mountains. In Colorado Springs, nature is not a frame, but shapes the city and accompanies every gesture of daily life. Vail. Built in the 70s at the foot of the Gore Range, it took shape around the idea of recreating the atmosphere of a European Alpine village in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. Along the pedestrian streets follow chalets and flowered balconies, while cafes and restaurants animate the main square. The village is cared for in the smallest details, with small squares, bridges, and glimpses that recall European Alpine landscapes. In winter, it is one of the most extensive ski resorts on the continent. And in summer, the green slopes attract hikers and cyclists. Durango. Grown along the historic steam railroad that connects Silverton, it is a town where the Old West is not just a memory. Trains still depart every day, crossing canyons and aspen forests. The center has maintained its original appearance, with wrought iron signs, converted saloons, and wooden sidewalks. Modern life flows among bookstores, restaurants, and breweries, with the Animas River that runs alongside the city, offering areas for relaxation. At the edges, the San Juan Mountains define the horizon, ready to reveal still wild landscapes. Breckenridge. Founded during the gold rush of the 19th century, it preserves a small historic center made of pastel-colored wooden houses, Victorian facades, and signs from other times. The main streets host galleries, microbreweries, and shops related to the mountain, while the air smells of resin and altitude. Around the village, conifer forests climb up the slopes, with deer and marmots that populate the clearings. It is a lively place, but always in dialogue with nature. Crested Butte. A small mountain center born as a mining settlement, and today known for its trails and for the fields that in summer are covered with wildflowers. The pastel-colored wooden houses line up along the main street, among shops, restaurants, and cafes. In the surroundings, the mountains draw a landscape made of steep slopes and valleys crossed by watercourses where entire aspen forests change face with the seasons. Here, mountain life merges with the seasons, and the atmosphere is simple and authentic. Kebler Pass. A dirt road crosses one of the most extensive aspen forests in America. The landscape changes with altitude, passing from open meadows to shaded valleys, until reaching the summits, from which views open on mountains and canyons. In autumn, the bright yellow leaves form a mantle that ripples at the slightest breath of wind. The route connects Crested Butte with the Paonia area, following a route that remains gentle, but never monotonous. Every curve, in fact, reveals a new perspective. Boreas Pass. A mountain pass that unites the railway pass with the open views of the most authentic Colorado. A dirt road crosses it, winding among forests and high-altitude meadows that in autumn are colored bright yellow. Ascending, the landscape opens onto solitary valleys, pointed peaks, and ruins of abandoned stations. The pass exceeds 10,800 feet, or 3,300 meters, but the gentle gradient allows you to explore it even on foot or by bicycle. It is a natural border between Park County and Summit County, but also a meeting point between history, silence, and altitude. Town of Frisco. It sits on the shores of Dillon Reservoir, surrounded by the mountains of Summit County. The center is small, with a single main street dotted with shops, restaurants, and artisan workshops. Despite the proximity to larger ski resorts, it maintains a familiar and relaxed atmosphere. The marina comes alive in summer, while in winter, the town becomes a base for those seeking snow activities, but away from the crowds. Frisco, therefore, is never chaotic, but remains well connected to the mountain heart of Colorado. Owl Creek Pass. It winds among rock formations, thick woods, and peaks with sharp profiles. Access requires attention because there are dirt roads, seasonal rivers, and isolated stretches. But it's precisely this that makes the experience unique. The landscapes change continuously among sandstone columns, eroded cliffs, and grassy plateaus. There are also clearings crossed by deer, and often there is a silence interrupted only by bird calls or by the noise of wind among the trees. Here, some Western movie scenes have been filmed, attracted precisely by the harshness of the landscape. Ridgeway. Born as a railway hub for the mines of the region, today it lives as a small rural center, overlooking the San Juan Mountains. The streets are wide, the house is low, the rhythm slow. A square, a school, a local brewery. In the surroundings, pastures alternate with hills covered with pines and junipers. It's a place that has preserved a simple identity, rooted in the land and in everyday life. There are also many other destinations that contribute to telling about Colorado and that deserve to be remembered. To the east, for example, the Paint Mine's Interpretive Park surprises, with clay formations sculpted by the wind, narrow canyons, and colors that range from white to purple. Among the mountains instead, there is Georgetown, that tells the season of the gold rush with its 19th century buildings, the historic railway, and the streets that preserve the atmosphere of a frontier village. They are two different places, but both capable of revealing unexpected aspects of this incredible and authentic state. This, therefore, is Colorado, a kaleidoscope of natural and cultural wonders that challenge the imagination. And if you want to explore other fantastic places in America and around the world, choose from our playlist that you'll find here on the right.